There's backstage scoop on the new voice of Monday Night Raw. Plus, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, Vince, because everybody apparently knows what he thinks, is reportedly telling his talent on the WWE roster to be in tip-top shape for when they return to the road for live wrestling in front of live fans. It's still something we're getting used to again. It is the Sportskeeda Wrestling top story of the day. Hit that like button now. Do it. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out! What's up, everybody? I am Kellam. That is Jose G. Follow him on the Twitter machine at Jose_G_official. All right. And if you haven't done already, go ahead and subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling on your app of choice, on your YouTubes. All right. You can also get us now on the podcast. We're dropping these in the podcast. So you're going to get nearly 7 days sometimes. 7 days a week we'll have audio and video content for you to consume. And if you guys get it on the podcast, let us know what you think of it, especially the diehards. I see a bunch of people joining us right now. Yes, news from within WWE as they prepare to get back out on the road with some very highly anticipated shows. I think they're anticipated from one side just to say how much we can bitch about them, and then anticipated from the other side about how much people are going to have fun with it. And we'll talk about both those things as anti-WWE sentiment always at a fever pitch after an AEW pay-per-view. So much, always. Jose, let's get it started here. What is the positive backstage reaction to the brand new voice of Monday Night Raw, Jimmy Smith?
Well, that's right, man. So last week we learned that Jimmy Smith was going to be taking over Adnan Virk as the lead play-by-play commentary. And today we find out that PW Insider's Mike Johnson is reporting some backstage chatter about the reaction to Jimmy Smith's debut. And there was actually a tweet that was put out by WrestleVotes, and I'm going to put that tweet up so everybody can see it, that the Raw production people that they've spoken to were absolutely thrilled with Jimmy Smith's performance last night. Tremendous and a natural fit were two comments concerning his debut. This goes back to what we were talking about, where he was a former UFC and Bellator a color commentator in those promotions, and now he's taken the lead. I thought he did a fantastic job. He sold exactly what he needed to when he needed to sell. He plugged in perfectly all the commercials. And when I close my, and this is something that I do as an announcer myself, is I always tend to close my eyes and listen to how they're engaging with the match. And man, it sounded like an MMA fight. He put his own tone to it. He did a fantastic job on his Raw debut.
I got to catch a good chunk of Monday Raw. I haven't been able to see the whole thing, but when I heard him, I was just like, I didn't even really notice a change. It felt if he sounds like a broadcaster. I'm not saying the guy is changing the world. I'm not saying he's the next great thing. I think wrestling fans rush whenever they like something or hate something. They rush to whatever the conclusion is. Jury's still out, but hey, first night on the job, this guy's hitting home runs already. So there's something to be said about that. He's doing a pretty damn good job here. And Christopher Rice chiming in here with reaction to Jimmy Smith, the new voice of Monday at Raw, saying, I think he'll be just fine. I like the hire. He likes the pickup here. A lot of people I heard were just angry that they weren't bringing back somebody you knew, that they weren't bringing back somebody you're familiar with. Why didn't you get a wrestling person? You could have gotten someone who's handled wrestling. But this is WWE. Adnan Virk was from the sports world. Jimmy Smith is from the sports world. Michael Cole was from the news world when they brought him into the company. He's been in the company now for decades. So it isn't exactly like everyone's a Jim Ross where they've been in the business for decades and decades and they finally get the call up to, start broadcasting WWE. And I guess that's maybe the way people see it in the wrestling bubble, that only wrestling people should get wrestling jobs. But what does that sentiment have anything to do with what this guy did in the position he was given? It has nothing to do with it.
Nothing at all.
Nothing to do with it at all. And I would say he did a very, very good job.
I thought so too. Especially, coming off the heels that we had Mauro Ranallo for a couple of years. He never had any professional wrestling background. He was a pure broadcaster, but he was.
Mauro, I got to correct you there. Mauro has a tremendous wrestling background.
Oh, okay. Well, then I stand corrected. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't want the comments to jump on you there, Jose. I don't. Yeah, the bipolar rock and roller maybe be sending an email our way. Yeah, because he got to start with wrestling, then moved into MMA, then moved into everything else like
all right,
that.
then
So,
I stand corrected. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, he was a manager too. He was managing talent and different stuff like that in Canada and all those different things. So I do not mind correcting you. And guess what, guys? It's okay. We correct
It's okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. See, something I didn't know.
I've dealt with that before where you make a mistake or you misquote or oh yeah, I'm sorry, the lapse of judgment, and people hound you on it, right? They love a mistake. But that's another thing is I bet this guy goes on air and they're the internet trolls are just waiting under the bridge to get a scrap of something to bite into like a mistake. And they didn't get many from Jimmy Smith here. I think he'll be just fine.
I think so too.
WWE is getting ready to go back on the road. They've announced this. They'll probably announce more batch dates that we get announced here. They have dates announced committed well through August, including major cities like Oklahoma City, Chicago, and many, many more. 25 city date tour. More dates will be announced. I think they clear out that end towards Labor Day is basically what they've committed to. These also included house shows, which I was surprised by, and will also feature SummerSlam, which has not been designated for a specific location just yet, but the date is set Saturday, August 21st. So WWE has a lot to get used to going back and being in front of a live audience. You've had wrestlers now for the better part of a year wrestling not in front of an audience. They did get WrestleMania. You do have the wrestlers that do NXT that get to wrestle in front of a live audience there, a limited one. But they're going to be back in front of real fans very, very soon. As we saw with AEW this past Sunday, amazing night for them. With thousands of fans at Daly's Place. They will have fans back as well. We've seen it at independent wrestling events that you're aware of as well. Let us know. Hit that like button if you guys are excited for the return of live wrestling. WWE is excited, but they want to be ready. And there has been an order from down top to be ready to go back out there in front of fans.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And this was actually broken earlier by Mike Johnson at PW Insider. And it looks like there's some chatter in the backstage area where they're talking about where they're being told that workouts could begin as early as next week with the talents taking part in drills and perhaps even matches in order to make sure that their ring work is sharper. And this is believed to be a Vince McMahon edict. So it looks like they want them to be in tip-top shape. So it's like the equivalent of doing 2-a-days in sports and basketball or in football, or in this case doing some ring work. There's going to be some people that complain about it, but you know what? I think these guys want to be in tip-top shape and they want to be ready for when they are hitting the roads hard, coming in just over a month. And you know what? Who are we to believe? This is coming from PW Insider, who's a very reliable source, but you've got to believe that there's going to be some people. Well, Vince is telling the talent that they need to work out before they hit the road. But you know what? It could be a positive thing because you don't want your talent to look like crap when you're touring. I mean, what do you think?
Especially if these are wrestlers that maybe that one exposure to a live audience for them in this past year. I'm talking about people that are specifically in Raw and SmackDown. Was WrestleMania. So you got to get back. You said different audiences, different areas, different challenges, going out there with a time change. All right. Do we have to do our entrances in an arena again? That's a different entrance, We have to get used to that. That's getting people to show up on time. Maybe you have to show up at a different time now that you're back on the road. You're going to be traveling. It's going to be an adjustment back on the road. No different than, when we went to parties this weekend. I know a lot of people started going to parties this weekend. And maybe they've been to other gatherings, but it's the first time maybe they've seen some friends. So it's different than seeing your family. And all right, do I take my shoes off at this person's house? Are we doing high fives? Are we shaking hands? Are we just doing fist bumps here? Or are we just doing elbows? Everyone's getting readjusted back to life. And of course, there's people that rush to this. It's like, how dare Vince tell his talent, which is apparently the best in the world, that they have to be ready to be back on the road. This is WWE. You saw people.
They're always ready.
Stumble over themselves to make this a critical thing. And I know this has been my big hiccup here for quite some time, but I'm going to say it. Why is the number one thing in wrestling running to the box office to crap on WWE? There are more people that took the opportunity not to talk about how great AEW was this weekend, but to talk about AEW. WWE sucks. AEW rules. It was that. Well, then what is all of this just in spite? Can everything just be fun? Especially after the last year we all collectively had. Let people have fun, even if it's not
for real.
What's the deal?
But you know what? You're just never gonna have. Not everyone's gonna be happy, regardless of the result. It's just there's gonna be some people that are just completely frustrated with WWE and only want to do AEW, and that's understandable. But don't hate on it just because you're the only person in the world that thinks that everybody should be watching AEW and just stop watching. That's never gonna happen because there's billions of people that watch this around the world. This is a global product, a global conglomerate,
the worldwide leader in sports entertainment. So we'll take some questions now. So if you have any questions about what's going on in the world of wrestling, we have, I wouldn't call a light news day. We have what we know coming out of Monday Night Raw. We know we're going to get Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley again, Hell in a Cell. No shot at either one of those guys, but that one's kind of run ragged, right? You got questions about that. You got questions about what's coming up at Hell in a Cell in a few weeks. You got questions about AEW coming out of Double or Nothing. All those rumors we've heard about WWE trying to make a deal with New Japan. Anything going on in the world of wrestling, go ahead and fire them off here as we're on live with you. Riley Real has this question. If SummerSlam is not in Vegas, do you have an idea where it might be? Well, there's Sports Business Journal, which is a pretty verifiable source, reported that more than about 5 different NFL stadiums were pitched in different cities for this year's SummerSlam. So they wanted this to be a stadium event and have intended, the company has intended reportedly for this to be a stadium event dating back into sometime last fall, knowing that if this was the time for them to get back out on the road, that they would want to do one of their big quarterly events in a stadium. So they knew that. So they've had more than a few. I know Nashville was in line. East Rutherford, New Jersey had pitched as well, which is where they held MetLife. There were a handful of different places that had pitched this before. Nashville would have been an interesting choice. Nashville, Tennessee. I don't think they've run a major show there in a while. But it seems like Vegas is where we're going here. Talking to everyone I know in the live entertainment world, as a lot of different rock concerts and rock tours were announced today. Foo Fighters announced a show. Guns N' Roses announced a tour today. Slipknot announced a tour today. So, I mean, you have a lot of big rock bands going out there. Venues starting to pop open. But this is a different game. This is a stadium. So you really have to know your dates with the stadium very far in advance, just like you do any venue. And are you going to book the hotels, all those things? I think it's Vegas. I think they're at that Allegiant Stadium, the home of the Raiders, and they run that same Saturday night as a Manny Pacquiao fight on the other side of town.
Yep, that's true. And they already started doing the commercials for August 21st. Interestingly enough, with a Cardi B song. So there's been some chatter about Cardi B possibly hosting. There's nothing been confirmed about that. But, with the success of Bad Bunny and previous high-profile stars, I can't imagine this not being a hit.
I'm ready for some wrestle-ass pops, dude. That's what I'm ready for. I'm ready for a big WAP summer. I'm ready for all of it. Get it in there.
Are we gonna go to Legion Stadium and start dancing the WAP dance? Make it drop. Make it drop. Let me pick your brain on something real quick. Did you see the spot last night with Sheamus and Humberto Carrillo with
busting the nose,
busting his nose? It was a legit break too.
Yeah,
it was a John Cena bad breaking. You remember how John Cena got his nose broken?
When Seth Rollins gave him that leaping knee,
yeah,
you could totally tell right away it was broken. Like when you're just somebody watching on television and you're just like, ooh, they ain't good. They ain't good right there. They ain't good.
Especially when he started just hemorrhaging immediately, and you could tell that he was stung by that because I mean that was some stiff forearms that Humberto hit him with, but just the way that I think he might have attempted to put it back in position because it was really flattened out, and then towards the end of the match, it kind of straightened up a little bit.
Have you broken your nose before?
Never, thank God.
I have. I did it playing soccer. I didn't do a complete break. I could crack my nose like a knuckle because of the injury I had. Hang on. I have to take it out.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh,
yeah. Listen. Hands free.
Oh, disgusting. Oh, come on, Kevin.
It does open up the passages. It does just open you up a little bit. Jump into your questions. Keep them coming. Keep your questions coming. Bring it, baby. Bring it. What do you think of this one from Stephen Hall? Is it two-night WrestleMania a good idea after the pandemic era?
Nah, I think they're probably going to go back. Well, you know what? It depends. Because what if by next year we have this official New Japan partnership? So can we see a WrestleMania New Japan partnership? Maybe a two-night ordeal? I don't know. But I think going back to the one night 6-hour, 7-hour event, I think that should be more than enough.
I'm a fan of a 2-night WrestleMania. I don't have an issue with it. I actually thought it was quite fun. It does give you the opportunity to get more people on the card. I don't know if Bianca Belair gets to main event WrestleMania if there isn't a 2-night WrestleMania. In terms of the structure, I mean, you went to it 2 nights in a row. Was it too much for you going to it live?
From a fan perspective, it kind of
you wrestled out. I mean, were you wrestled out?
Man, because you're there. Like, for example, like we were there from like Thursday all the way through Monday.
Yeah.
But just between Saturday with the rain delay and just everything, it was just a unique situation because this is the first time they're coming back. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We have this Category 4 hurricane thunderstorm that's about to hit Tampa. Not really, but that's what it seemed like. So there was just a lot of things, but was it a lot of wrestling? Was it just the energy and the time that you have to take out of your day to drive to the stadium, to get in line, to wait, to just able to participate?
So you think that's too much to ask of people?
I mean, I absolutely loved it, but it is very draining. It's just extremely draining. So I think one full day. I did the one full day when they were in Orlando here at 33, and I was there from 10 in the morning to 12 at night, and I had the best time.
You were out there for a couple days anyway when you went to that one, right?
I was here in Orlando.
Yeah, but I mean, you went to a couple days of wrestling stuff when you went to that.
Oh, right? Absolutely. Yeah, no,
I'm either way on it. I'm either way on it. I think if you can run a stadium, next year they're going to do Dallas. The year after that, they'll run Los Angeles. They've committed to that plan. I'm either way on it. I'm okay with the idea of 2 nights. I mean, it is an event where you get people out for a weekend anyway, so I don't think there's that much of an issue with it. I do think it is kind of a festival of sorts. You come out for multiple days for the biggest show of the year. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it because I think it lets them have more flexibility. Yes, is it too much wrestling? Sure. But I do think at the same time, it lets you do so many different things. It gets a lot more people on a wrestling show, the biggest wrestling show of the year. And we always see people bitch and moan about, hey, how come my favorite guy who isn't a super popular wrestler, but I think he deserves recognition or he or she deserves recognition, why are they not featured on this year's WrestleMania? It's become less and less of an argument with WrestleMania. And if you're not on WrestleMania and it's a 2-night WrestleMania, you didn't have a hot storyline, you got lost in the shuffle, too bad. I'm not saying I don't feel bad for you, but hey, there's more opportunities here to do something, and there's more opportunities to do something spectacular and do something different. And what's to stop you from just saying, I just want to go to one night? I think if they announced if you had a better idea of the absolute attractions you were getting one night to the other, where you could buy for a single night, I only want to go to the night they have this match, or I only want to go this night, or hey, there's obviously if it's WrestleMania, there'll be a bunch of other, every other wrestling promotion in the world will want to be there, right? So you'll be able to go to some other stuff while you're there. I'm okay with it being 2 nights. I'm not opposed to the idea.
A couple different comments we got coming in down the pipeline here. James Espanto Fernando Taguay. He's saying that he doesn't want another 7.5-hour WrestleMania. 2 nights is easier to enjoy.
Yeah, break it up. I mean, you certainly book enough to have 7.5 hours. I was in New Jersey when they had that extremely long show, and I was in the bottleneck of people to get out of it. If this prevents a WrestleMania situation like that, then I'm more than down for this. And also, the experiment of doing something on a Saturday night worked. The past 2 years they did this. People were into that Saturday night wrestling show. You were at that Saturday night show. People were on board.
SummerSlam is on a Saturday, so they might just continue pay-per-views on a Saturday.
Yeah,
let's hope so. But there's some people that don't agree with that,
though. Only do WrestleMania 2 nights. I don't think you need to do every other show. I don't think you need to do every other show.
Are we going to call SummerSlam WrestleMania
Yeah,
SummerSlam?
he also adding there. Sean Smith, always a smart ass. Says no 2-day Super Bowl, but to each their own. They're gonna play one half one day, all right, and you only get to watch half the game one day, right?
And then it finishes the day after.
And then they have the second half the next day, and there's just a long halftime show in between that stretches for. It's just Lady Gaga for 17 hours.
It's Coachella. It's NFL Coachella, and from when the half ends to the other half starts.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous here. We do have a follow-up question here. Stephen Hall in the mix. Is it possible the reported Notice we're still saying reported here. New Japan WWE collaboration. More about improving the WWE product or breaking up the collaboration between New Japan and AEW. You know, it's really hard to tell. My inclination, and I know there were a lot of people who, for lack of a better journalistic term, were butthurt. And you can check all of the content I did about that. We did 2 different shows about this weekend. On Friday, we didn't have you. I did a show with Sid. And Sid did a great job from True Heel Heat, and we had over 2,000 people watch the show. Thank you so much, and enjoy that on YouTube alone. So we had thousands more on Facebook. Very appreciative. A lot of people intrigued by this topic. A lot of people angered by the topic. A lot of people telling me I had no argument. And everyone always says I'm just a pro WWE guy. No, I'm a pro wrestling guy. If you're truly opening up the forbidden door, you got to expect WWE to look at that model and say, how can we benefit from that as well? And take it as a compliment that they are inspired by your moves to do something here. But no, everything has to be spiteful and go, shake your fish chowder from Jacksonville to Stanford, you know, like that type of thing. And, you know, Tony Khan's cutting a promo that is absolutely a tongue-in-cheek thing, but it is absolutely just flip the bird.
What's up with this? There's only one room for one.
To make it clear, like you're not stupid. That was a shot. He took a shot directly at WWE, and to a lighter degree, he asked New Japan if he could do that. He wasn't going to ask WWE if he could do it, you know. So he clarified in post-show media scrums this past Sunday that he did talk to New Japan before he did that. So I guess his inclination, and he isn't flat out saying they're not talking to each other. That isn't a deal. He can't say that because he doesn't. I don't think he knows. Or if he did know they were talking to each other, he would go into that post-show media scrum and say, there is no agreement between New Japan and WWE. That isn't happening. I've been told that isn't happening. He didn't say that.
No, he didn't.
He didn't say that. He didn't refute that there was anything being discussed.
He only referenced Dave Meltzer because when he brought it up, he's like, I'm hearing through Meltzer that WWE is having conversations with New Japan.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Dave Meltzer broke the story. So, I mean, and Tony Khan has been very open about the open line of communication that he has with Dave Meltzer at all hours of the night. So do I think that collaboration is designed to get in the way of AEW? Sure. But I also think it's to benefit. Like, to say it isn't meant to improve WWE's product overall or create new opportunities for their talent outside of WWE itself. No, WWE isn't going to do this if they don't benefit. I don't think there is this idea. Everyone thinks WWE does this. Sure, it inspires them to like sign a talent that they think could be swooped up by AEW. And maybe they're doing that because AEW is going to swoop that person up. If we don't get that guy, they're going to get him, right? Competition inspires you to do things. It inspires you to do things. And this is a competition. You know, initially I didn't know if AEW is going to be real competition for WWE. They absolutely 100% are. All right. And when you open up the door of competition, apparently it's a problem if people want to then do stuff that you're doing. You know, you're ripping them off. BS. It's like you saw this when Facebook came out. Like when I saw this when bands would get a Facebook and then another band would get a Facebook, and people were like, you just got a Facebook because another band got a Facebook. Like, think about that. Like how stupid that is in retrospect. But in 2008, 2009, that was something that people actually said and meant, you know? So I think we're in a position now where, as I laid out before on the show, they have talent doing TV shows. You know, they have talent doing other things outside of the company. You have guys who want to do other stuff. We've heard the discussion that the main crutch of this entire thing, PWI Insider reporting this on Saturday, was that Daniel Bryan is the main reason that this deal has apparently been talked about. And that if Daniel Bryan could get what he wants and go be able to work some fun, wild, 5-star wrestling, you know, drop the Meltzer stars on him dream match in Tokyo Dome with New Japan, then he gets to come on back home to WWE and make a, you know, truckload of cash. Why not? What's the problem, everybody?
It's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
It's a win-win situation for the WWE, and it's a win-win situation for the wrestling fans. This is what you guys need to realize, that this is a win-win situation for you, for me, for Kev, for everyone who watches pro wrestling, who loves pro wrestling. This is a win for us if this happens.
But there's many people, and I know you're out there, guys, who think like WWE is going to ruin it. They've conditioned me to think they're going to ruin this thing that I love. And look what they did with all these other promotions they bought, and they just put them on the shelf, right? And look what they did to ECW, and like look what they're going to do, and I don't trust them. And I understand that. I completely get that. But for every single one of those, what about NXT? What about the fact that you, because of WWE, can watch almost any show, at least with Peacock, we're getting there, right? Where you can watch almost any WCW thing. You get to see them and have access to them in a way that you wouldn't otherwise because of WWE's platform they've built for themselves. I mean, if more people get to see New Japan that haven't seen it before but have heard about it, it's not that bad of a deal, guys. It's not that bad of a deal. But I guess it's certainly, if they do it, WWE is going to want exclusivity. So I guess that is indeed cutting out AEW. And I think that's the major talking point for a lot of other people here. It's that would aggravate them. And credit to AEW, they've been a platform for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Leo Rush has a contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He does not have a contract with AEW. It is a handshake deal. John Moxley is allowed to go and work things there. Chris Jericho is allowed to go and work things there. People want Kenny Omega to come back and do some big things with New Japan. Are those in doubt right now? If this deal gets signed up, I would say they certainly are.
Yeah, man, it's an interesting time to be a wrestling fan following all these developing collaborations through the Forbidden Door. We'll see what happens, though.
People asking Daniel with a question here. Daniel asking, where is Mania next year? It's going to be outside of Dallas, Texas, at the Cowboys Stadium. So that is where they're going to run next year.
AT&T Stadium.
AT&T Stadium. Last question we get in here. Kenny Matthews wants to go, what's up with Sasha Banks? What is up with Sasha Banks?
Where in the world is Sasha Banks?
Clip it.
Honestly, I
We're
think
90s
they're probably.
Kids,
honestly, yeah. I'm thinking that they're probably going to save her from when we get the crowds back in July. That July 16th live event, a SmackDown right before Money in the Bank. That's your go home.
You're getting 2 pay-per-views that weekend. You're getting the first show back in front of fans with SmackDown, and you're getting that Money in the Bank that Sunday.
It's a Money in the Bank SmackDown. That's what they're going to call it.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's going to be brought to you by Citibank. Citibank brings you SmackDown in the Bank.
And WWE undefeated.
Where is she? We don't know. I mean, I don't believe she's filming Mandalorian, which was a big hit for her on Disney Plus. Huge, one of the biggest TV shows of the past year and a half. So she was on that. Does that number her days with WWE? I don't know. Does that limit her days? Does that allow her more time off? I don't know. When she was filming The Mandalorian, she was away for months and months and months, and no one really knew for a long, long time. So maybe she's doing something like that. I'm not exactly clear. But she certainly got to go out on a big way, dropping that title to Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, and probably the biggest match of the year for women's wrestling.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to think that she's probably working on some type of side project. And they did such a good time of keeping everything so hush-hush with The Mandalorian. Maybe they're doing the same thing. You're absolutely right. I can't argue with that.
If you are watching on demand or you're listening to the podcast, we will respond to your comments. So if you're watching on demand, continue to drop your questions in there, whether on YouTube, whether they're on Facebook. I will go in there and I will respond. All right, so please keep that up. If you haven't done already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tons and tons and tons of content up there. We have Vince Russo reviewing Monday Night Raw every single Monday night, a new episode of Legion of Raw, in which he responds to Eva Marie's jostling of him on Twitter, which has been interesting. That happened during Monday Night Raw last night,
I saw that.
Quite the thing there. So we cover that last night. We have Dutch Mantel back in the fold with us on Friday nights covering SmackDown. We have the debrief with you on Wednesday night covering AEW and NXT, which will certainly be interesting, as tonight we're going to have a very eventful NXT. We will find out who will be the next number 1 contender for Karrion Kross in the weeks ahead. And obviously AEW rolling here after Double or Nothing. Lot to cover. Thursdays, we give you the Inside Cradle, a 90-minute show covering everything going on in the world of wrestling. And then Monday through Friday, right around this time, Thursdays, we kind of shake the time up a little bit. But Monday through Thursday, we are here right around 5 Central with breaking news and all those different things. So make sure you turn those notifications on. Whenever you watch this on Facebook or YouTube, no matter where you are, you turn those notifications on. You know when we go live. Also, watch our stuff on demand. Doesn't hurt if you're not live. We still feel your presence. We still feel all the faithful. I love the people that are with me I need to say I've been with Sportskeeda now for a month or two. I'm not making this about me, but I absolutely adore you guys for making the leap with me. And that is no shot at anyone else or any other website or anything like that. I'm just thankful. Watch whatever wrestling content you want to watch from whoever makes it. There is a ton of stuff in our world that is being made right now. Kudos to all the people that made the trip down to Jacksonville. A lot of our friends in the old industry were down there, and I heard great things from a handful of people that had a really, really great time. And that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. When I run into people from other wrestling websites, how you doing? What's going on? Let's have a beer. Let's talk shop. All right. Exactly. So there's no beef there. But I love you guys coming over to our shop and spending, the hours that you do with us every single week. Please, people that are more in the audio podcast side of things, spread the word to them. Tell them about Sportskeeda Wrestling. Search for it on your podcast app of choice. Jose G, they can follow you on the Twitter machine. Where?
Right over here at Jose G Official with the underscores in between the G. Make sure you follow me over there on Instagram and on Twitter. Weekends of Wrestling. We're live Thursday nights at 8 p.m. here on Facebook, also on YouTube. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. And as always, guys, when you're watching wrestling, what's the most important thing they can do, Kevin?
Well, you can watch this new clip of me from AAW Pro being called something like a simp. I don't know exactly what that is.
That was great, by the way. I saw those Boricuas, those guys.
La Sociedad. La Sociedad.
La Sociedad.
La Sociedad. All right, from AAW, or as I simply know them, the Ricos, because everyone in the locker room called that. But apparently, I'm not supposed to call them that, even though that's their name. That's in their name. Right. So they were very, very upset with me. I did this promo. I was supposed to interview Sky Blue, the hot up-and-coming star, possibly future AEW Women's Champion. Right. And they could not like the idea that I was interviewing someone else. And interrupted
it's your
me,
fault, Kevin.
They interrupted Sky Blue like she was Taylor Swift and they were Kanye West.
Listen, in La Sociedad's defense, you just completely bypassed them. Like you saw them like, nah, I don't want to talk to you. I'm gonna talk to her. Like I saw that. I saw that. They wanted their time. You didn't give them.
They lost. Both of them lost.
You didn't give them time.
I'm sorry. Maybe I want to talk to the guys who, win matches, dude. Like, I want to talk to the guys and gals who win matches. All right. Those are the people I'm supposed to talk to backstage at AEW. So they wouldn't like it. And they interrupted me and they insulted Sky. And then they called me something. I haven't been able to find it. I haven't Googled it yet because I think maybe I don't want to be exposed to some dirty stuff on the internet.
Maybe it's better for you not to find out.
Okay. All right. So
don't Google it.
It's on my Twitter. You guys can watch the video right now. I've been told it's funny from people that make fun of me. It's funny. You can see my Twitter at AAW Pro. Our next big pay-per-view event is coming up on Fight TV June 11th on Fight TV. Crush and Destroy. Main event. We'll see Jake something from Impact Wrestling challenge Mance Warner for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. And of course, follow me on the Twitter machine at Kev Kellam. That's where the clip is if you want to see it on Twitter. Follow Sportskeeda Wrestling. Follow us on all the different machines. I'm going over here. Wait, no.
Yeah, there you go.
Across the streams. All right. I know we were doing the sign off, but what were you asking me, by the way, there? You were asking me a question about wrestling in general, though, right?
Yeah. Well, what's the most important thing that they can do while they're watching wrestling?
Oh, yeah, dude.